Welcome to the Immunity Community 2020, where our focus is to provide physical, mental, spiritual info and positive vibes to help you endure and adapt. We'll be bringing you experts to provide strategies to handle stress and boost your immunity. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Immunity Community 2020. I have my friend, Quinzy Fraser here, friend and colleague. And Immunity Community 2020 is put together so that we can help focus on physical, mental, spiritual info and positive vibes. So my job is to bring experts to you, the listener and the viewer, so that one, we can help deal with the stress that's going on at home. Two, we can help improve our health and well-being to fight what potential illnesses that we can get out there, because there are some real dangers, and there are also some internal dangers that we can work on. And all of us being at home, we want to be able to create a better life for ourselves, for our families, and that's why I have Mr. Quinzy Fraser with us here today. He is a conditioning, strength, and core specialist. I have trained with him myself and have had just a funny note that Quincy and I knew each other or have seen each other like as these big macho men back in college 25 years ago. And we see each other as more subdued, mellow, patient fathers 30 years later. Like, dude, I saw you at the bars down in DC. He's like, yeah, I recognize you too. So it's funny how we reconnected and created a relationship that we didn't even have in college, which is awesome. And the
Absolutely.
bonds that we have here are, movement, youth sports for sure.
Definitely.
We run into each other on the football field and the lacrosse field and the basketball courts on a literally every single weekend. We're running into each other with our sons, and also just being leaders, within the community, being bright lights. And I think, Quinzy, I thank you for being a bright light in the community. Some of you listeners here may see Quinzy at Lifetime. He is always a larger than life, salt of the earth type of guy who is going to lift it up and not only give you the great information and the great way to train, but also just to add some love into your life. So Quincy, if you can tell us a little bit about what you do, like what kind of training you do and what makes you special within your field.
So when I first started, it was just coming out of school, coming out of playing at Maryland. And I've always done it on the side as a part-time gig because it was my passion. So between that and coaching, I've always kind of learned the process, getting certified through organizations like NASM, which is the gold standard for not only training, but performance enhancement, as well as corrective exercise. And as I have kind of progressed and developed and gotten more mature with these years, one of the things that a very good and influential person shared with me was reformer Pilates. And through not only taking that, but then being nudged to get certified as an instructor in that, it just opened my eyes up to so much of what I personally had been missing in my own strength. And my pedigree is from one of the greatest strength and conditioning specialists ever to grace this earth, in Dwight Galt. Dwight right now is the strength and conditioning specialist for Penn State University. And he was the one who introduced me as an athlete to the whole concept of lifting weights for a purpose. Did
you work with him when you were at University of Maryland?
No,
Okay.
I was one of the team guys. So we depended on Dwight and Corliss and a number of other strength and conditioning specialists, Damien, Fitz, to develop us into the strongest, fastest, most agile, and most powerful versions of ourselves through everything from sprints to running up and down the stadium steps to power cleans and lifts and all those brutish, athletic, high performance power movements. And through that, I learned so much, and it made such a difference in how and the concepts that I've taken over the years. But as I started to take reformer Pilates, I realized how much I had left on the table, how much I had focused on the strength of my extremities, whether they were my legs or my arms or my chest, and not where it all comes from, the epicenter of movement being your core, and not those cute muscles that are in the magazines, the six going right down in the abdomen with the V cut, like not that aspect of your core, but the cylinder that goes around. And if you were to pierce your solar plex, it will come right out the back of your shoulder blades. And then you create a cylinder, go all the way down past your hips. So it includes both your lumbopelvic hip complex, your abdominals, your obliques, your serratus, and all the muscles that support your spine and your lower back. And what I found is that as I got stronger in Pilates, it not only strengthened my movement, it strengthened my balance, it strengthened my explosiveness. And I'm at the oldest I have been, I've found that I am the strongest.
That's awesome. So
You
in
know,
essence, and for those of you who have, I know you're a gifted athlete. You were in high school, you played college football, you swam in college as well, right? So,
yeah,
and it's cool to see your evolution where you're learning all these external strengthening techniques and powerlifting just to get, and ignoring the core. Pilates showed you an amazing experience where the core is actually a cylinder versus the abs you're looking at.
absolutely.
Beautiful.
And it's been such a big impact. And I coach now, I coach my kids, I coach a ton of other kids in sports like lacrosse and football. I leave basketball to my brother, my dad, and the other guys, so that the kids don't have to have me all
All
season
season, yeah,
every
they
year,
get enough,
you
right?
know. But one thing that I found in learning how to do all those movements on the machine and through on the mat is how to assimilate that into our athletic movement, our performance. And then from learning there, how to then modify those movements to include them into proper rehab techniques. Everything from learning how to walk again because of um, um, traumatic brain injury or spinal cord injury. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
having to learn all those new neuromuscular pathways is one thing when you're thinking about the end piece, whether it's the toe or the foot or anything like that. But before it gets there, it has to go through your core. So it's been a really neat um, opportunity for me
Awesome.
to
So I want to go a little deeper than the core, because
shoot.
my favorite conversations with you are when we share the challenges that we experience just as humans. And both of us share a lot of, every time we're at the sports field, we share the trials and tribulations of being a father or being
Oh,
a significant other or a partner, right? So we talk about our romantic relationships, our children
absolutely.
relationships, and we share that. So what I'm interested to know, and I want the audience to feel this, because like someone looks at you from the outside, you're a good looking, fit dude, right? But you have a deep spirit, man. And that's what I appreciate about you. Like, who do you have to be to show up because dude, if I come to the gym at 6:30, you're already there, like training people, inspiring them to move. But that takes more than just understanding movement and core strength. Like if you could, this is might be a
Yeah.
little more, I want to go in because I know you're a spiritual guy, but like, who do you have to be in order to like help people find their light every single day?
I'll tell you, energy is everything. And you can tell it. Like, even if you and I weren't on video conferencing, you would still be able to tell that I'm smiling just from the energy that comes through my voice inflection.
Yeah.
And those are just small pieces, that we have so many nonverbal cues that we do in communication that, you know, make such an impact on our world around us, on the people that we interact with. And I am incredibly grateful to kind of just wake up in the morning and take that big, full, deep breath in and then kind of let it out and like start my day with recovery breaths as opposed to not, I won't call them meditative breaths, but sometimes I'm really lucky. Not so much lately because of the quarantine and everything, but I would pop up before my alarm, and my alarm goes off at 3:45, usually 3:15, just to get in there at 4. And luckily, I live 5 minutes away from the gym.
Yeah.
So, and getting up and doing that, first off, I'm incredibly blessed to love what I do, and it creates, and I get to see people and, to have an opportunity to be a presence in other people's lives and pass on what little bit of information I may know or have. But more importantly, just to be a positive energy transfer first thing in the morning, I absolutely love. You know, Same thing. Being a dad is the hardest, best job ever because you're always on. There
Yes.
is no, oh, I'm not going to do this today
Right.
because they're here.
Well, the
They
way
are.
we approach it, it certainly is that way for sure.
you know,
Yeah.
and um, and it's the same thing in my relationship. I'm got an incredible woman that puts up with all my stuff, and then does see me when I'm in the self-reflective mode, where I'm just like, which is very little.
Yeah.
I try to be a quick charge like the um, phone chargers now in terms of self, just so I can continue to, you know, spread and be. And I'm not going to talk too much about faith and religion, but it does play a big part in my world. Just from a spiritual standpoint, understanding that there is so much more to this life than what we see, what we feel. It's just there's an energy that connects us all, and that's the spirit part that I really, really love interacting with other people, with you, with just somebody on the side of the street. If I'm out walking the dog, you can always tell when somebody's energy is a little
Off.
low,
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
little off. And I try to. It's the hardest thing in the world to share that with my kids because our kids are at the teenage stage where you know everything is social awareness. We've just been hit with a gigantic wave of social awareness,
Yeah.
where we didn't have that in elementary school. It was like, okay, cool. Luckily, my 17-year-old versed me with that and hit me in the head with it like a brick. And now I'm going through it again with my 12-year-old and my 13-year-old. Um, but between Blake and Jordan and Kellen, it really does. We see it like,
Yeah. I know. I
you
know.
know, and my dad, I swear to you, my dad and my mom both come over here just to watch
They're laughing at
the
you
show.
because you're like,
Oh my
you
God.
gave that, it's coming right back to me. So, um, for our listeners and viewers out there, we could go on and talk about this stuff, but I'm sure
Totally.
people can relate to that because they're cooped up in the house with their kids. And so, what I want to break this into two components. What are you suggesting for your adult clients, and what are you suggesting for kids? And just like from the dad and more from a fitness perspective or a movement
Totally.
perspective or
For
a
a movement
spiritual
perspective.
perspective. So
Yeah.
share that with our audience.
So one of the things that we do, and we don't have the greatest amount of space, so we found ways for all of us to work together in our boot camp sessions about 2 times a day. It breaks the monotony up for the kids, whether they're, reading or whether they're playing video games or whether they're checking up on what schoolwork they have to do, and brings them up here and allows them to move. Our kids aren't used to this stuff because their entire lives, up until 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, their entire lives were occupied at least 3, sometimes 4 and 5 days a week
Till 10 o'clock at night with
to,
practices. Yeah.
with practices and
Yeah.
activities and movement.
Yes.
So they're going stir crazy. So what we do is like a dual type of boot camp. One is there's a lot of your name workout things going around. And what I'll do is I'll send that over to you so you can see it. And
Awesome.
with
We'll share it
with
with
every
everybody too.
yeah, with every letter has an activity. A might be 15 sit-ups, B 10 push-ups, C 20 burpees,
Love it.
D 20 squat jumps, E 10 lunges each leg. So you go through the entire list and you do your name. For me, Quinzy, and that's the first part of our workout.
Awesome.
So when I do it with the boys, I'll get the boys all warmed up first because a lot of the stuff is plyometric. So I still want them not to just jump into doing, jump squats and star jumps and burpees and all that other stuff. So when we come up, when I call them up, they'll pop up and we'll sit right out here in our little living
Yes.
space
I love
area.
it.
And if you can tell, the most active member of the crew over there is
Is that
sleeping on the
Tyson?
couch. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's our 8-month-old Frenchie.
He's the mascot.
But yeah, he's a house mascot there, snoring. But we'll pop up, and first thing to do is just a little bit of movement practice. We always start with jumping jacks. 4 sets of 10 or 4 sets of 20, depending on where we're at and how much I get in
Yeah.
the beginning.
Yeah.
The more crap I get, the more I do to warm them up and get their body flowing and get their minds channeled in. And then we do, we'll either do a whole movement practice starting with a lot of core activation from plank to push-ups to a lot of engagements from the core all the way through, kind of like a rotisserie chicken. We'll start on our planks and forearms, then we'll go to side plank. Then we'll do our crunches or our glute bridges, and then we'll go to the other side, and
Awesome.
then we'll come back around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exercises in total, just to kind of get your core just as active. Because again, if our epicenter of movement is our core, not only do we want to make sure that our extremities and our hinges are warmed up, we want to make sure that our core is prepped for what we're getting ready to do.
Awesome.
And then we'll kind of get into, one day we'll do a deck of cards workout,
Yep.
and for that, and it's cool because there are a bunch of apps on your phones that we use and that are available. One of the apps that we use is, where is it? Bingo, Sweat Deck. Not sure
Awesome.
if you can see it,
Yeah.
but that's just one that we use, and it allows, with every suit, it allows us to choose. So in this case, for us, spades are push-ups, crunches are for clubs, diamonds are air squats, and hearts are lunges.
That's awesome.
So we've got a lower body, we've got an upper body, and we've also got some core work in there. And then when we have our jokers, we do 100 mountain climbers, or today when I do it, we'll do mountain climbers for a minute straight and see how many we can get to kind of just up the tempo a little bit. And then for the other joker, we'll do side plank hip lifts just to kind of keep it. And I'll change them each day.
And have that rotisserie aspect. I've never even, that's amazing. I've been in this industry for a long time too, and I love that concept. So for those of us at home, and is there anything else that you added? Because that's a huge arsenal right there of our listeners
That
to
is
do.
big. Like that's a lot of time we'll do that 2 times a day.
Nice.
And then for Carrie and I, we will either do, while the boys are downstairs or whatever, we'll either do yoga or find some activity on the TV screen, or we'll just get a
Hang
workout
out.
in. I've got a couple dumbbells. My biggest thing, I absolutely love the pull-up bar that hangs in the doorway, and then bands. So we do a big pull-up bar, band, push-ups. I've got a Bosu ball. That's probably the number one piece of equipment that I have for when either I do my body weight based exercises or when we do them together. And we'll just create rounds,
That's great, man.
of push-ups, pull-ups, RDLs on the Bosu, RDLs and squats, overhead squats, to make sure that we're really practicing proper core engagement and hip depth. Little things just to keep the body moving.
And are you doing
right
anything
now.
online right now or this is
So not really. It's
okay?
just I mean, it's not something that I haven't thought about.
Hmm.
It just, it's been so crazy. We've just been
I know.
focused on getting
Well, who
everybody
knows? Who
here.
knows what's going to spur from this? So, those of you listening, we have your name, right? You can take the letters in your name and choose different exercises for that and run through that. If you go first and middle and last name, you got a hell of a lot of exercises. You've got rotisserie chicken core training. So from the front to the side to the back, make sure you're going 360 all the way around, because we did learn from Quincy that the core is a cylinder. It is not just your abs. And then you have a deck of cards. You can use a traditional deck of cards. He showed a sweat deck. So for those of you listening and tuning in, if you can share any apps that you have or specific exercises or different things that you've done at home, this really what this community is about, is sharing so that we can all be a little less bonkers and a little more fit when we come out of this and
Amen.
be able to hit the ground running. So Quincy, thank you so much for sharing. Anything else you want to add?
No, man, I enjoy it. Thank you for introducing me to, one, the immunity community, and two, being able to just kind of sit and share.
Yeah, and hang
It's
out.
just it's nice to. It's always good to see you. You're a good friend of mine, and
Likewise.
to be able to do that and talk about what our passions are as far as health, spirituality, strength, engagement, influence. You
Yes.
know,
We got it.
it's sweet.
Well, there you have it, Quincy Fraser. And I hope you guys can all take something from this. And thank you, sir. Love you, brother.
Thank you.
And I will see you at sports, hopefully end of April. We'll get things kicked
Hopefully,
back into gear.
hopefully,
All
hopefully.
right, man.
All right,
Cool.
you guys have a great day.